So as Victoria mentioned, I am Silas Garrison, the CEO of HealthSpace. We are a governmental SaaS provider, heavily focused and primarily focused on state and local or provincial agencies. So think health departments, things that you as a citizen would come into contact with fairly frequently. All gets heavily regulated on a local basis. And so we serve those type of government agencies. At its core, and what our core heart is, we are just trying to help government operate more efficiently. We are trying to help them manage that behemoth of data that comes with being a government agency, from all the licensing and the inspections, down to the actual back office billing, the accounting work for issuing invoices to citizens and business owners. As everybody knows, there's usually some sort of fee involved in a governmental process, and the customers we serve are no exception to that. And one of the things that is very interesting is we've also, our platform is very nimble to help government agencies, again, staying on that efficiency mindset. We've even helped with contact tracing, COVID-19 and disease surveillance. We serve a broad spectrum of use cases across our platform. And so really, we are at this very unique juncture of government and technology, more aptly known as GovTech. We serve a variety of use cases and verticals within the state and local government markets. Probably not surprising that government is heavily bifurcated and split apart in terms of sub-agencies, if you will. We serve departments of environmental health, agriculture, public health, clinical health, and beyond. And our platform is one of the reasons that we're able to drive into multiple agency types at a time. It's very user-friendly, highly configurable, and it's cloud-centric. We're really one of the only cloud-centric solutions, fully cloud-based solutions that exist in the market for the use cases we are serving. The other thing that translates into is our sales. We have a very growing sales pipeline, over $18 million that we have visibility on. And we're charting towards a very high level of ARR, or annual recurring revenue under contract. We have visibility and targeting 10 million in ARR under contract over the next 12 to 18 months. And that's largely built on a very sticky customer base. Our customers sign long-term contracts, 5 to 7 years, typically in nature. And over the company's lifespan, actually HealthSpace has been around quite some time, 20 years in terms of total time in business. We have a 98% customer retention rate over 20 years. I just came to the company in 2016 as part of our revamp to get us into the cloud, first initially serving as CTO, and I became the CEO in 2018. And we've really started to hit that inflection point just this past year. We actually serve over 500 different government customers, individual counties or cities all across North America. These customers of ours, they utilize our platform to help manage every part of their daily workflow. When it comes to actually interacting and issuing something such as a permit, there's a whole workflow that goes behind it, from ensuring that the regulatory activity being done by the private business or citizen is in check. And there's a whole slew of business activities that have to be tracked digitally in order to maximize efficiency when issuing that permit to, say, a business owner such as a restaurant. And so our government customers utilize us for every part of that business flow process, from initial application to the actual invoice that the citizen receives, down to the actual issuance of the permit. Our products span 4 main areas. We have My Health Department. And this is an online portal targeted towards the citizens, the private industry, business owners. We have HS Pay, which is our online and mobile payment solution. And we have HS Touch, which is our mobile solution for field inspectors. And I'll touch on each of these in more detail in a second. But really the solid foundation, the hub and spoke model, if you will, of which all of this is built upon, is our HS Cloud platform. HS Cloud is truly one of its kind in the governmental space. If you're going to think of one thing when it comes to HS Cloud, it's one very key important point that is very unique in the governmental space, and that is self-serve. HS Cloud is built to be a self-serve platform that allows the government agency to adopt it themselves without the heavy intervention of their IT department or long laborious cycles with development. They can actually take it and with a few clicks, upload all their regulatory laws, all of their information from business workflows. They can even automate their business processes. And HS Cloud allows them to do that very seamlessly in an easy to use way, and it's cloud-based. Cloud-based in the governmental space is actually something that's fairly new. Government, even just 5 years ago, was probably a little bit reticent to adopt cloud solutions. As it stands today, they only want cloud solutions, and we are really one of the only ones providing it. Even competitors that have something that might be cloud-based or cloud-ish takes a team of developers to deliver. Ours really cuts down on that paradigm of having to manually set something up. And we've created a robust platform that makes it easy for them to implement and manage their information. HS Touch, this is the kind of field inspector's companion. It is the replacement for a pen and paper and a clipboard. So think of a sanitarian going into a restaurant to conduct a sanitary inspection, and they're going to notate several items that are found to be deficient. What we've actually unveiled is a mobile application that runs atop of iPad, Windows, tablets, and Android operating systems that allows the government to go out and conduct their regulatory activities very seamlessly and ergonomically. Astonishingly enough, none of our direct competitors for the spaces in which we operate actually have any sort of mobile solution native to iPad or Windows. We are the only ones offering it, and it's a huge selling point. One of the other things about HS Touch that is really compelling to the government market is the fact that even in this very day and age where internet connectivity is ubiquitous, and we are a cloud-based company, they need the ability to operate their activities offline, without an internet connection, should they be in a rural part of the county or maybe in a basement somewhere where cell activity or connectivity is low. HS Touch allows them to do all of their work offline, and then it automatically synchronizes to HS Cloud. Another part of our product offering suite is My Health Department. We call this the digital replacement for a government office. So as a private citizen, think of anything you would have to do to interact with your local health department or your local regulator, file an application for a new business, pay for an invoice or a fee. You would have to potentially actually communicate back with your health department to say, you found these deficiencies at my business and I would like to contest them. We take all of that information, streamline it into one platform that is automatically bolted into the ecosystem that is the same for their back office management. So think from the governmental perspective. They want to offer online services just like a private business. But when it comes to other vendors in this space, exclusively, when they have to offer an online service, any sort of web application, they have to develop that from scratch, customize, and hope that somehow they can connect it to their back office system. With our platform, it's a click of a button. They can publish all of this information online to My Health Department, immediately engage with the citizens, and create numerous workflow efficiencies, not just for the government agency themselves, but also for the citizens. And a huge part of that, one of the most exciting things for our company that we are just getting ready to launch commercially, is our HS Pay system. HS Pay, in short, it's an online and mobile payment system to allow citizens and private business owners to pay their regulatory fees and fines online with a click. Now, in the governmental space, and just within our current customer base alone, they collect $300 million a year in revenue from permitting and licensing fees. That's $300 million US. And the majority of that money is collected through paper means, check in the mail, cash in person. If you zoom out to really the US in general, over billions of dollars are collected every year through licensing and permitting fees from government. And still, even at that broad scope spectrum, the majority of that money is collected through paper means. There's not a good unified digital payment solution that connects back office to citizens. HS Pay will streamline that entire workflow and allow us to create an additional revenue stream for us while also creating efficiencies for government. As part of being kind of the middleman, if you will, in this payment process, we're able to take a share of that transaction revenue. Everybody's familiar that Visa, MasterCard, they all charge a fee. And with our partnerships in the merchant processing side, we're actually able to take a revenue share anywhere in the neighborhood of a half to a full 1% of every dollar that floats through this. That's hundreds of millions of dollars of potential capturing of digital revenue that we can monetize and capture a portion of it as revenue for us. It's a huge growth opportunity and something that the government market is clamoring for. There's a lot of pent-up demand for digital payment solutions, especially in the wake of COVID-19. Now, this is a look at some of our more recent sales and some of our growth into new verticals. Just recently this year, we announced State of Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, which is a new vertical on our cloud solution. We didn't have an agricultural customer. They adopted it, a $2 million contract over 5 years. We also announced the city of San Francisco just last year. And really, that was the inflection point for our growth. We really started to hit an inflection point once we were able to sign, the beating heart of Silicon Valley, if you will. City of San Francisco chose us across all the competitors across the space and called us head and shoulders above the rest. That has translated into new sales and new growth into new arenas and allowed us to extend our platform in a way that prior was obviously not available to us, as the notoriety and word of mouth is very critical in the government space. A look at our pipeline and in some ways more importantly, our ARR growth. So our annual recurring revenue under contract, that is every contract that we have signed. Some of our customers have a implementation period they have to go through. The ARR as it stands today under contract was $4 million at end of year, just 2020. And we project that by 2021, December, so just 9 months from now, we should be in the area of $8 million in ARR under contract. So a lot of natural questions is we've touched on, licensing generically and all of these accounting, and I touched on environmental health, but government is massive. How do you tackle such a huge space? And especially when you look at it, that government in the US alone, state and local government agencies are projected to spend $118 billion on IT services this year alone. And that number is growing in large part because of COVID-19 and the paradigm shift of more telework status. What we've done is we've broken it down into individual verticals that we are targeting within government. You have environmental health. This is really where the health and HealthSpace comes from. The fact that our first customer was in the environmental health market, and we've carved out a large segment of that market and are gaining significant traction. However, there's other areas of government that we're targeting that are even bigger, such as public health. That's at 180 million ARR TAM. Departments of Agriculture, and one not even listed here, are other areas such as code enforcement. There's nearly a dozen government agency types that all have very similar workflows. They have very similar digital needs, and we can deliver them with one singular platform. It's very important to remember that the competitive landscape when it comes to government is largely founded on large software providers that have cobbled together solutions through inorganic growth and acquisitions, and no keen eye on innovation. We are the first to really chart out and innovate exclusively for the governmental space by providing a one-stop shop platform that can expand across multiple segments of government. This is a look at our cap structure. It's fairly straightforward. 36 million shares outstanding, fully diluted 51, sitting at a market cap right around 54 million Canadian, just depending on obviously the trading day. As you see, we've had an inflection point. I didn't mean to go forward. And part of that is just a lot of this growth. We've really started to see an inflection point in our growth and started to see that reflected in the capital markets as well. As I mentioned at the beginning, I've spent nearly 2 decades in the governmental market. I myself am actually, self-taught software engineer, and I've been working with government agencies since really high school. Actually, I was very fortunate enough to actually taught myself software engineering and started building software applications for government. And my team that surrounds us is very strong. The senior leadership team within our organization has over 200 years experience combined working with government and creating cutting edge technological solutions for government. Why does that matter? Government needs to have reassurance that not only is the software better, but that you understand their needs and their pain points. And we are a team that is fully dedicated with a lot of passion to rising to the occasion to fully disrupt the opportunity of the kind of incumbents of stale software providers in the governmental space and provide what is the first true robust, self-serve cloud solution. There's billions of dollars in terms of market opportunity at play here, and we're just really getting started and starting to hit that inflection point where really a lot of growth is ahead of us. And so I'll turn it over to you, Victoria, but I do thank everybody for taking the time to listen to the presentation today.
Yeah, thanks so much. So I'm just going to kick it off. So you mentioned, you guys are basically the only guys out there that are offering a cloud-centric platform. The incumbents have, stale technology. So when you guys are out there bidding for these contracts within governments, like who are you guys typically rubbing up against? Like how many guys are really around that you're competing with?
So in large part, it's mainly two organizations, two large companies. One by the name of Excella. It's a privately owned, private equity-backed company based out of California. And then another company by the name of Tyler Technologies. They're publicly traded on the NASDAQ, TYL as their ticker symbol. In fact, Tyler has got about a $20 billion market cap as it stands today. And so we go against some very large competitors. But their business operating procedures are mainly acquire and grow inorganically, and they do not innovate from within. And what that translates into is a lot of disgruntled, customer base. And in fact, a lot of our growth has come from taking away customers from one of these two providers. So when we go into a head-to-head competitive bid situation, I will never say that it's just an automatic slam dunk, but it's as close as you'll get to it. They cannot compete with our unparalleled product power. And when they are able to verify and fact check our references, again, we have 98+% customer retention rate, very happy customers. It kind of seals the deal for us that between the product line and the customer satisfaction, it's almost an unbeatable combination.
So then how protected is your technology? Do you guys have patents around it, or what's stopping them from, doing some R&D and getting into this space, or another entrant coming into the market and trying to replicate something that you guys are doing?
So being very familiar with both of these companies, in fact, when I got my start very early on in my career, I actually worked for a company by the name of Digital Health Department. I actually rose in the ranks from junior software engineer to VP of technology at Digital Health, and they were acquired by Tyler Technologies. So when we're selling against Tyler, we're actually kind of competing against a former version of myself, it feels like. But why say that? To highlight the fact that they don't really build products from scratch. They really go out and try to acquire. So they're not sitting there spending a lot of money on R&D. And the time it would take to match what we have built in our platform, not only just the time, the money, and the expertise it takes to build it out, we don't have any patents on the platform itself. In this day and age of web software, it's very tough to go about and procure it. So for us, it's about nimbleness, speed of development, and the fact that we are the first to get into the market with such a product really gives us first mover advantage.
And then when people think about governments, they typically think of them, very slow moving and a lot of negotiation back and forth. So can you just talk a little bit about, how you guys go about selling into governments, how you guys go about, budgeting, what your pipeline looks like, what your sales cycle looks like, and just kind of, I guess, provide people a picture of what that interaction looks like for you guys?
Absolutely. So our sales pipeline obviously has swelled over time, sitting at $18 million in visibility and more. And our average sale is about 90 days. So with government and working with a lot of health departments, we have gotten our sales cycle down to the fact that 80% of our customers have come by a way of sole source. Sole source is kind of a unique thing in the government space. It just simply means that they didn't have to go out and issue an RFP or a bid to procure our software. Over 80% of our sales have come that way. And so when you're able to go in the sole source route, it really expedites the sales process. One of the more recent examples of that would be actually Dallas, the city of Dallas. It was about a 120-day sales cycle for a very large municipality in the U.S. And so we're starting to see that trend right now. With sales cycles being what they are, we're always at dealing with the COVID-19 situation, and so are our customers. And so right now we're seeing that typical 90-day sales cycle be extended upwards of 120 to 150 days, depending with the vaccine rollout. But as these distractions, so to speak, come out of the marketplace, what we're going to see is there's a lot of pent up demand, and some of our sales cycles will really rapidly accelerate, and we anticipate them accelerating in the latter half of this year, especially.
Well, it's interesting because those distractions have also been an opportunity for you guys with your contact tracing solution that you guys rolled out this year.
Yeah, it's an opportunity in numerous ways. What COVID has actually done for us as a company is it has poised us to really create a lot of disruption. And it's not disruption just because, our product is better. It's because the governmental needs have changed. Telework was never something that actually existed before COVID-19 in the governmental space. You do not work from home if you work for government, local health departments. But that's becoming a very normal situation now. And they need cloud solutions to be able to work remotely. Not only that, then it incentivizes them to need online payment solutions such as HSPay. And lastly, one of the big incentivizers for growth that's really going to accelerate our ability to close sales in the latter half of this year is the introduction of additional federal funding. We all know about the CARES Act that got issued, last year, and there was $500 million that was earmarked for public health. There's even more coming this year, grants and things that are expressly intended for health departments and local agencies to modernize their digital solutions. So there's a lot of growth activity that is going to directly be a result of COVID-19 for us.
So I do want to get to a few audience questions. So they're kind of along different lines. So excuse me in advance if I jump around a little bit. The first one, so Silas, really like the new HSPay product. What are your plans for adding additional products and features, similar to these in the next 12 months?
So we do have plans to introduce at least one more product addition that would be a separate product line with additional revenue. Beyond that, for us, it's really about continuing to scale the underlying platform, the engine, which is HS Cloud. We have a long R&D roadmap that will allow us to take it. We can easily sell it, and I do mean easily. We can take it and sell it to an environmental health department and turn it on like with a snap of our fingers, effectively. But as you go into new government verticals, such as code enforcement, something I didn't really talk a lot about, but it's one that's on our radar. As you go into these new government verticals, there's some massaging and additional enhancements you have to make. So you won't expect a lot of brand new product lines like HSPay, over the next year, maybe one or two. Our focus on R&D and product and development is really to allow us to expand the same product into multiple verticals or new verticals that we haven't quite tapped into.
So once you get in with a government agency, let's say environmental health, I'm just going to call it the city of Dallas or whatever city it may be, how easy is it for you, the guys, then to cross-sell your platform into different verticals within that same government agency?
So that's the interesting thing about government is I will say it's fairly simple, because what we're able to do is demonstrate that there's user satisfaction, there's efficiency created, and then getting into the decision makers, kind of in front of the decision makers for another facet of the agencies. So take clinical health, which is totally separate from environmental health. If they're able to see the efficiencies created for environmental health, it does create a lot of cross-sell opportunity that isn't simple, snap your fingers, make a sale, but it does create an opportunity that otherwise would not exist. We see a lot of our growth coming from kind of the groundswell of additional agencies in the same geographic region, all hearing about a positive impact and wanting the same thing.
Okay, so I'm going to lump two of these audience questions together because they're kind of around the same lines. So how much debt does the company have or cash on hand? And then also along the lines of, your balance sheet, do governments look at the strength of your balance sheet when they're giving RFPs out? And then how does it's kind of different, but pricing versus Tyler and Excella compare?
Okay. 3 questions there. I'll try to get through them really quickly.
Where you're at, how that helps you with RFPs and then competitive pricing.
So I'm very happy to report there has never been a time in the company's history that we have been as healthy financially as we are. We're sitting on about $5 million in cash, and we have about $1.5 million in outstanding AR yet to come in. So we're sitting in a very comfortable balance sheet position with 0 debt. And that does matter. Government does tend to look at these things, especially the larger agencies such as City of San Francisco. So these things do matter. And it does, when it comes to, I'll switch to the other question, which is pricing. Pricing is never been an equation or a factor of why we've won a deal over the past 18 months. We are right in line, anywhere from the same to maybe 10 to 15% off in either direction from Tyler and Excella. We have a very fixed rate card, but a lot of these other, companies tend to be variable at times, trying to capitalize on if it's a larger agency with a larger budget. But we're within the same neighborhood, give or take 5-10%.
Okay, let's just, so I have a question actually, which kind of ties into the next audience question as well. So M&A. So a lot of the growth that you're talking about is all organic growth. Obviously within, SaaS models and a lot of these businesses, we see a bit of organic and a bit of M&A. It doesn't seem like M&A has been too much a part of your story. Is there an opportunity for M&A to become a part of your story? And then tying into the audience question, basically asking, would you guys ever, consider being a target for M&A?
Both really good questions. As far as our personal M&A strategy, it is something that we have talked about, and we have a couple of things that we have softly kept our eye on. But within this space, it's very unique. We would only acquire for one or two reasons. It's synergistic technology that accelerates our product development in a way that would be cheaper and more synergistic to acquire it. Or it would be to get into new market space. Something, say, I've mentioned code enforcement a couple of times on this call. Say we, buy a provider that has a market share in code enforcement. The reality is, though, and this kind of dovetails into the next question, which is Excella and Tyler have largely acquired anything that is within, a palatable size of our M&A strategy. They've acquired every small to mid-sized player out there that you can think of. And the few that remain, like us, are likely on a radar. I do believe that a knock will come from one of these players at some point in time, especially as we start to continue to take away customers from them. But as I say and have said all the time when I get this question, we are building for scale, not for exit. I look back and I compare it to, Salesforce when they first started, Salesforce.com, when they first launched their CRM, cloud-based CRM, going against the likes of Oracle and other billion-dollar players, and they disrupted an industry from the ground up. We have that opportunity. So a knock will come, and if it's accretive to shareholder value, then obviously we will entertain it at that time. But that's not our focus. Our focus is on the organic disruption we can do.
So I guess another question along those lines then is, is there a way to protect yourself from M&A until you guys can unlock a lot of that value that you're talking about, internally?
Yeah, we have a shareholder rights protection plan that we've put into place. So we've taken incremental steps to try to get there. Obviously, you can never be 100% bulletproof, but we have taken steps to try to protect the company and the shareholders. Yes.
Okay, and there's one last audience question, and then we're running over, so we just have to answer it really quick. In your current forecasted sales pipeline, what % is from existing contract renewals?
Right around sub 10%. So it is a very small fraction is from contract renewals. Now, when we migrate a customer, and contract renewals, for those who are maybe new to the story, we do have customers operating on our legacy platform. We convert them to our cloud-based platform, our SaaS application. We increase the amount of revenue. So when we do convert someone, it's never just a swap, they're on the new platform. It is usually a fairly significant increase in revenue on the ARR side as well.